I'm a child of the South. Even though I wasn't born in the South, both of my parents were. My father was born in a small southern Mississippi town called Pachuta, and my mother was born in a northern Mississippi town called Tupelo. I'm one of the first generations of the children of the African American migration, and I was born and raised in a small town called Centerville in downstate Illinois. Upon reflection, our life was somewhat insulated. Our parents didn't talk about the horrors that they experienced when they lived in Mississippi. And yet I know that there had to be horrors because of the time period in which they were raised. It's unfortunate that both of my parents died when I was rather young and didn't have the consciousness of mind to ask them whether they didn't share those stories with us because they were saving us, or whether they didn't share those stories with us because they were saving themselves from the memory. The first time that I recall knowing anything about Emmett Till, I was probably in my 20s, and I saw the image of him in the Jet magazine. I remember thinking, who could do such a thing? Who could mutilate and murder a 14-year-old child? What type of community, what type of city, what type of state, what type of nation could create so much hate within an individual that they would even think that that was an option? A couple of years ago when I moved to Mississippi, I took a ride out to Money, and I stood on the grounds of Bryant's store. I stood there and I remember looking across at that vast isolated field, and I guess I was trying to get a sense of the how and the why. But to be honest with you, I never got that comprehension. I remember thinking about Mamie Till and the fact that she sent her child to visit family, like so many others did, from Chicago, and they sent him back in a casket. I'm actually okay with not being able to understand the how and the why now, because I've come to realize that if I understood it, then perhaps at some point I could become just as inhumane as those individuals that perform such an atrocious act. I know that it is hard, it is difficult, it is painful for many people to remember these stories. And many people actually avoid it because of the pain. But it's truly unfair to those that endured it. It's also unfair to the generations that are coming behind us, because that period really wasn't that long ago. And if you think about it, it's not that difficult to bring it back. So to Mamie Till, who said, no, leave the casket open because I want you to see what they did to my baby. The only thing I can do is say thank you, because we never would have believed how atrocious and how inhumane humans could be to another human being had we not visibly seen that image for ourselves. And for people like Keith, who are keeping this story alive, who are sharing this story with so many others, dedicated his life to this. And I have to say thank you, because it is important. And it's not only important, it's necessary.